Hello, I'm Kirsten King, host of Diva TV. Today we have on the show Miss Yolanda Stevens, the author of the book The Upside of the Downlow. So make sure you stay tuned as I have this intimate interview with her as Miss Stevens tells us all about her book The Upside of the Downlow.
Hello, my name is Yolanda King Stevens, and I'm the author of The Upside of the Downlow, a pastor's wife's memoir. 3 things that people wouldn't know about me. Number 1, I like Italian food. Number 2, I used to be drum major of my high school band, Shaw High. And number 3, I was Miss Black and Gold at Georgia Southern. The thing I bought when I went shopping was a nice purse, and I cannot wait to carry it. I'm holding it to take the tags off.
Miss Stevens, so glad to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
You're welcome. I've heard so much about your book, The Upside of the Download. I can't wait to get my copy. Can you give us a brief introduction of yourself?
Yes, my name is Yolanda King Stevens. I'm from Columbus, Georgia. I moved away a little after college after majoring in communication arts. I was a flight attendant, and then I came back after about 7 or 8 years, and this is where I am today.
Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about your book, The Upside of the Download.
Let's do it.
What inspired you to write the book?
My inspiration was really my healing process, my life, and what I had gone through at the time. So whereas I had been writing a book before, the real meat to the book came when everything kind of happened. The title changed, the contents changed, and I just went with it.
Okay. So I was looking at the title, The Upside of the Download. I'm like, what is the upside of the download? Can there possibly be an upside of the download? So tell me, where did that title come from?
Well, the title came from a friend of mine. I was Facebooking a friend after everything kind of happened, a little bit after his passing, and he said, you need to write a book, and you need to title it The Upside of the Download, a pastor's wife's memoir. And he was like, everybody will buy it. I said, but I don't want to go out there and expose myself and tell my life like that and then make him seem like he's just a really, really bad person.
Exactly.
So, I don't think that's going to happen. But in the back of my mind, I was like, well, that is about right, because the download could be anything. It could be anything we're going through, whether it's sexual nuances, whether it's finances, whether it's something that we're hiding from a person or a mate that's supposed to be the person that we love and care about, that can be a detriment to the relationship. So it was a fitting title.
Alrighty. And you said that you're a pastor's wife.
Yes, and a pastor's daughter. And a pastor's sister.
Oh, man. All in one.
Yes.
Okay, so the book. What is the book actually centered around?
The book, a synopsis.
A synopsis of the book.
Okay, the synopsis is an unsuspecting pastor's wife discovers that her husband is having illicit affairs in the church with men, and then she also finds out about women. As she struggles to hold the family together, her husband decides that it's too much for him to bear. The scandal, the talk, and everything is just too much for him to bear, so he decides to take his own life into his own hands.
Okay. The husband within the book, what can you discuss his credentials?
Well, it's based off of my husband.
Yes.
Even though the names have changed, it's based off of my husband. And he had great credentials. He graduated from a Baptist college in Tennessee. He was a very charismatic person, very humorous, good looking, and could stand out in a crowd. He was the type of person that you would gravitate to, not only because he spoke well, but also because he knew the Word of God. So you would gravitate to him for that.
Okay. So how do you feel about the whole download thing? We hear about download, us women always on the phone. You on the download?
Yeah.
Before this ordeal, how did you feel about the download situation?
Before this, I never really thought about it. It was never something that crossed my mind. It was never something that I thought would happen to me. And not that I'm so perfect or so great, but I thought that I had a sense that I could spot someone who may be on the down low or who may be sleeping with other men, and that wouldn't affect my life. So I never really thought about it. I read other books about it and, looked at it from that perspective. But other than that, I never thought it would touch my life.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Were there any signs or indication that your husband was on the down low? You know, some women might be like, he crossed his legs, or sleep a certain way, talk a certain way. Did you have any clue, or you had no clue at all?
As far as just looking at him, I didn't have a clue. Just looking at him, there was nothing that was so outstanding or anything that was flashy that would make me think something of suspect. So, I mean, there were different things that he would do. Like, he liked to get his nails done, but every person in his circle got their nails done. So that was something that was becoming more feminine anyway. So I didn't look at those signs as if, okay, that makes him on the down low.
So, after you got with them in the living room, y'all sitting on the couch, what was that like? What was the question that you asked?
I asked not too many questions. I just wanted to listen because I felt I would learn more from listening. Because I felt I knew him, I felt that I would hear something different or hear something in his voice that would say, maybe this is not true, maybe this is all a dream, maybe it's fabricated or made up, because that's what I wanted to believe, even though in my heart I felt like it was true. I felt like I finally knew what was going on. So I didn't ask too many questions, I listened a lot. I listened
to try to pick up on some of those vibes and everything.
Yeah.
So what was their posture like? Did you sense that they were kind of acting, or like y'all faking, come on with the real stuff, or
I felt it was true emotions. I felt it was raw emotions. I felt hurt. I felt the pain. I felt cheated, and then the young man felt cheated. I could tell in his posture and his presentation, if you want to say that, I felt that he felt cheated.
And this is the same young man that you allowed into your home, on your couch, feeding him, eating your food, around your kids.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I feel you. I'm just trying to understand. I mean, I've probably been throwing pots and pans and everything. So, did either of them deny it, or did they admit it, or were they just kind of nonchalant about it?
There was no denial, because again, I didn't ask any questions, but it was very apparent that it had taken place. He said that it didn't start off sexual, but it ended up that way. That it was more mental, more mentoring, and then it ended up into a emotional relationship. So like men say with women, if her emotions are tied to it, then I know it's over, it's done. And you heard that so many times, and this was the same thing that was taking place. The same thing.
Wow.
Same thing.
So after that conversation, what happened? Where do a woman go from there? What was your next step?
Well, at that time, my next step was just to get out of it. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to see it. I felt like it was too much. It was surreal. It was almost like I had stepped outside of myself listening. Almost like I had stepped outside of who I really was, just trying to figure out what was going on. And when that happened, I couldn't do anything except get out of that environment, because I was like, this is not for me. This is not how my children should be raised. This is not the type of environment I need to be in. This is not how a marriage is supposed to be. This is not how my life is supposed to be.
Exactly.
So I just wanted to just
get out of
myself.
it. Being that you were the pastor's wife, that's a job within itself, because you have this image to portray, and your husband is the pastor of a church and everything. That night when you went to sleep, what did you question God, or what type of thought? What was your prayer? You didn't go to sleep.
I did not go to sleep. I remember looking at the clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, because there were things that transpired, and after everything was revealed, he left. He was standing right out here. They were standing right out here talking, and getting loud with each other. And I was looking through the windows and through the blinds, and I was like, okay, what's going on outside? And as things transpired, he was like, I'm done, I'm leaving, and he left. So I was at home by myself.
Wow.
I was left here to pick up the pieces to deal with exactly what I had just found out. So there was no sleeping. There was no sleeping.
So did you even get a I'm sorry from either of them? Especially the young man that you allowed into your home on your couch. basically like another child. Did you get any I'm sorry's, apologies, or anything?
He apologized.
He did.
He did apologize. He apologized, but and my husband, he apologized too for that transpiring, for bringing it into the home, but he never admitted or said yes, this is true, or no, this isn't true. It was a lot of beat around the bush, or at that time pointing fingers. So it was anything but what the discussion was.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of deflecting. So, yeah.
I can imagine watching that clock. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock.
You know?
What do I do? 3 o'clock? Should I kill him? 4 o'clock?
Right. What's going on?
I know. So when we come back, we're going to go into what transpired the next day. We're going to get into that and talk about what led up to the actual suicide. And so the next day, after you could not sleep all night, what were the living arrangements like?
Well, the living arrangements were the same. He came home and cooked. He cleaned. He was the perfect husband. The perfect husband. He didn't stay out late. He was there. He took the kids to school. Everything that you would think that a husband would do. So the living arrangements were the same. There was nothing different.
Wow. So he just carried on like this is just a woman I had an affair with, and
we're gonna see if we can get over it. We're gonna see if we can get over it. And I was like, there's no getting over this. This is something that we need to go see counseling about. We need to talk about it. We need to be honest. And if we need to get over it, then obviously there was a problem. Obviously you're admitting something. So it would always go into something else. Because I was always trying to get that, okay, I did it.
Okay.
Yeah, and I never got it.
So did you all have any other problems outside of that with your marriage?
We did. There was some financial problems, financial issues, not paying bills on time. Sometimes I come home, the cable be off. Sometimes I come home, the water will be off. And you know, we shared an account for the bills. So when those things weren't paid, it was always, well, what happened to the money?
Exactly.
Because then the money would be gone. And again, I would be left to pick up the pieces from that.
Wow.
There were other issues.
You're dealing with marital problems, and then you also had to deal with the fact that he's having an affair with not a woman, but a man.
And well, at the time, I only knew about the man. But within the time before he passed, I found out about other women.
Wow, are you serious?
I'm serious. I did.
Wow. So when did the community actually find out about it in the church family? Did you all kind of keep it hush-hush, or when did you hear it first, like within the community or within the church?
Well, it's interesting because nobody ever said anything to me. So if there was nobody who came up to me and said, oh, I heard this, or let me tell you about that, or I saw this, that, or the other, I didn't hear that at all. I didn't hear it out of the community, but I knew the talk was out there. But a best friend of mine who is not even in the city, she's up north, she called me and told me that she heard somebody who talked to somebody who go to church with somebody.
She's up north.
She's up north. But she heard about it.
Wow.
And she said, even as a best friend of mine, she said it took her a couple of days to contemplate whether she was going to say anything to me about it.
Exactly. Wow. So did you guys still go to church every Sunday, and did he put up that front like everything was okay? And
well, I could tell he was maybe trying to get over it. I'm not sure, but a lot of the sermons that he preached were about forgiveness. They were about how to forgive, how to love, and how to forgive. So if it was Bible study, it was about forgiveness. If it was regular church service, it was about forgiveness.
So he's basically talking to you at that point.
I think he was talking to everybody. If it was out in the community, he could have been talking to everybody.
Well, yeah,
you know? So it's about forgiveness. How do we forgive? What does the Bible say about forgiveness? Everything was about forgiveness. And I'd be sitting there like, Let's go. Okay, so let's go up to the day before he actually committed suicide. What was that day like in the house? Actually, my mom had came to spend the night, and she was here. He was not. He was not in the home. But I saw him the day before he passed. We had lunch, and it was just an eerie feeling because he wasn't dressed the same. He didn't look the same. He just looked very down. And it was a person that I had never seen before. And for me to see him that way was different. Because I didn't know who he was. But who is this I'm meeting with today? So
you get so many characters.
Right, who is this today? And because I was very bitter and hurt by the infidelity. Because by that time I found out about 3 or 4. So I was really just a little over it by that time.
So what time of the day was it that he actually committed suicide, or what time of the day was it when you actually learned about it? What were you doing at that time?
That's in the book.
Okay, well, we're going to talk about that then.
Yeah, that's in the last chapter. It's called God Writes the Final Chapter. And each chapter title is actually a sermon title that he preached from the pulpit.
Wow.
And it was what was going on in our lives at that time. So like the first chapter is called You Got to Start from the Beginning.
Okay.
So we talk about how we met. I talk about our courtship. Then the next chapter is entitled Let's Get It On. So we talked about our love. In the book I talked about how we loved each other, our honeymoon, our wedding. So
it's not just about the whole download, it's from beginning to end.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And then the last chapter is called God Writes the Final Chapter. And it was a sermon that he actually preached, and he was talking about depression. He was talking about mental illness. He was talking about suicide in that particular sermon, and he preached it 2 years before his death.
Wow. Okay. Well, we definitely won't touch on that. We encourage you to go and purchase the book to get that information. But after you learned of his suicide, did you kind of feel like I kind of felt like he was going to do something like this, or were you kind of in disbelief?
I was in disbelief. Because I had never been around anybody who I thought was depressed, or it wasn't presented to me as, oh, I'm depressed, or, so I didn't see any signs of the depression. All I saw were signs of you're not faithful in your marriage.
Exactly.
So it was very one-sided on my end, and I wasn't educated, and I didn't see those signs of depression, if that's what he had. I'm not a doctor, I can't say that, but going back and looking at it, I said, well, there were a lot of things that was going on.
So even with him being a pastor, a strong believer in God, you guys are church, Sunday school, Bible study, the typical Christian type family that everybody kills for, basically wants that type of family. With all the faith that he had, what do you think actually just led him to suicide? Do you think it was the depression, or was it the embarrassment, or like a compilation of everything?
It could have been a combination of everything. I mean, because in our community, in the black community, we look at pastors in high regard.
Exactly.
We see them and put them up on a pedestal, and whereas we respect the position, a lot of times they may feel like they can't do anything wrong. And whereas I held him accountable for the things that he was doing in the household, there were other things that were going on. So it could have been a combination of everything. And to me, that's what makes it just so wow. Like, oh my gosh, he was a pastor, he had a family, and that's what makes it just, it could be anybody, not just a person that you think is already down and out. It could be somebody who seems like they're on top of the world, somebody who has a family, somebody who has a nice home. It doesn't matter. It could be anybody that this can happen to.
And how did your kids cope with that? Do they know everything that actually went on?
Yeah, I have an 8-year-old daughter. She's 8 now, and a 2-year-old son. And he, he's young. He was 1 at the time, so he really didn't know anything. He just knew that daddy wasn't there. He didn't ask for him. He knew he wasn't there. But my 7-year-old had heard at school. She had heard at school what happened, and when I found out that she heard at school was when I was trying to tell her exactly what happened, because I hear her say, Daddy died in a car accident. And whereas it wasn't a car, it was not a regular car accident that you would think, So I was honest with her, and I told her exactly what happened, the way she could understand at her age. And we talked, we cried, and we talked some more. Because I told her he committed suicide. I told her how. And I used those words because I didn't want it to be a stigma. I didn't want it to be seen as, okay, this is something that he did so wrong that he didn't love me enough. So I used plain language with her. I had to
just give it to her, no sugarcoating.
Right.
And that's what you have to do with kids going through things like that, so they won't feel some sense of you're just piling on all this good stuff to try to cover up the bad. Okay, so since we're not going to go into all the other details, so y'all have to buy the book once again, what type of advice would you give to some men, married men, or just regular men that may be out there on the down low, or that woman that is at home, she's under suspicion of her husband? What type of advice would you give to them?
Well, the first thing I'll say, don't read my book and take it to your husband and show him. See what he did in chapter 4?
You're doing the same thing.
Don't do that. But what you can do is make sure you have a great prayer life. Make sure you have a good relationship with God. Because if you have that faith, you have that relationship, it can help bring you through whatever it is. And that's what helped bring me through with what I was going through, because there's no telling where I would be. It's been just over a year for me, but my relationship with God helped bring me through that. And for men who are on the down low, just be honest. I know it may seem like a fear or a stigma that we have in our community, but you know what? When you take the choice away from a woman, or take the choice away, you're really building things up in a person that can make it worse. It can make it worse. And you don't want the outcome to happen like what happened with me. You just don't want that.
So just be open, upfront, and honest, and let that be that woman's decision to deal with you if you are on the down low.
Right.
Okay, so where can we purchase this book? I need about 20 copies to put in my office.
You can go on upsidebook.com. That's probably the quickest way to get it, because they've been selling out here in Columbus. But in Columbus, you can go on Macon Road or Star Nails, or you can go to the Wellness and Weight Loss Center, which is on Warren Springs Road. You can also go to Frankie's Beauty Salon, which is also on Macon Road. So those are the 3 different places in Columbus until they come in the bookstores that you can purchase them, and upsidebook.com.
And do you have any book signings or appearances, speaking engagements that you have coming up?
Yes, on October 30th, I'll be at Mount Pleasant Baptist Church. I'll be there for their Women's Day celebration. I'll be the keynote speaker, and I have books there with me. And then I'll also be at Frankie's Hair Salon, which is on Macon Road. I'll be there November 3rd. That's the Thursday before the Fountain City Classic. And then I'll have a booth at the Fountain City Classic. Myself and another friend of mine, she's selling jewelry, and I'll be there with the book, and I'll be doing book signings. So come on out to the Fountain City Classic. I'll be vendoring.
So you're going to be all over the city, huh?
Yes. Alrighty. Book clubs, I'm everywhere, anywhere that I can share the story. So,
and that's good to get the word out there to bring awareness to it, because a lot of people try to just cover it up.
Right.
But that's good. Also, can you give us your Facebook, Twitter, contact information in case someone wants to book you to speak at an event or anything?
Okay. Well, the best way is to go on the website, upsidebook.com, but you can also Facebook me at Yolanda Stevens. And then I have an author page, Yolanda King Stevens, the author page, and I put all of book events on the author page. And I do Twitter at No Ordinary Rose. That's No Ordinary Rose, which is the publication company name.
Okay. Alrighty, well, I would like to thank you so much for this interview.
Thank
you. I have really enjoyed it.
Yes, it's so nice to see you again.
And we look forward to seeing you again on TV.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My name is Yolanda King Stevens, and I'm the author of The Upside of the Downlow, a pastor's wife's memoir, and you're watching Diva TV.
My face is okay?
Yeah, it looks fine. Alright, go for it.
Hi, I'm your host, Kirsten King.
Alright, ready? Go for it.
Hi, I'm your host, Kirsten King.
Hey, get it together today.
Time. I can't get one on site.
Damn, folks.